Welcome. This is a companion video for Commanders and Leaders Sharp training required by EXORD 110-22. I'm Lawrence. I'm a Sexual Assault Response Coordinator. In November 2021, the Secretary of the Army directed that commanders at all levels receive updated Sharp training on sexual assault reporting, response, and retaliation procedures no later than 30 September 2022. The Army Sharp Academy developed this presentation and tasked SARCs across the formation to present it. We are now able to do this with a desk side, and this is a virtual desk side briefing. This is the agenda slide. As you can see, it includes pending policy updates, increased eligibility for restricted reporting, commander responsibility, retaliation, what it is and how to prevent it, publicizing how to report, and encouraging reporting. Leaders to explain to their subordinates what is the appropriate professional response by the chain of command at every level, officer and enlisted, provide training on incidents of retaliation, reprisal, ostracism, and maltreatment with scenarios to facilitate discussion of appropriate behavior, to include mitigating potential resentment of peers towards victims, bystanders, or witnesses who report a sexual assault. Commanders will receive this so they can explain it to their soldiers. The so what of this slide is there's a lot of policy being changed right now, and the best thing you can do is always stay current with your servicing legal office and your SHARP professionals. Increased eligibility for restricted reporting means that the victim still has a restricted reporting option, even if the sexual assault has been inadvertently or previously disclosed to command by the victim, a suspect, or third party. The matter has been reported to law enforcement to include CID by anyone other than the victim, or an investigation is initiated, in progress, or closed. If the victim fills out a DD Form 2910 electing a restricted report, additional information provided by the victim or obtained from the victim, such as a forensic exam or communication with a SARC, SAPR VA, or healthcare, after the DD Form 2910 has been completed, shall remain confidential and not disclosed to military law enforcement, to include CID. Our Department of the Army civilian teammates are eligible for unrestricted reports of sexual assault as well. Services include a SARC or VA, crisis intervention, safety assessment, safety planning, accompaniment to appointments and interviews, and case management. I would highlight that additional medical care entitlements other than emergency services are not included in this slide. In the case of sexual harassment, it will still belong to EEO. When a commander is made aware of a sexual assault, they must notify CID, notify the SARC and victim advocate, notify legal, their servicing staff judge advocate, notify the victim that they still have the option to file a restricted report. Battalion commander submit a sexual assault incident response oversight, SARO, no later than 8 days after the report. And as a reminder, monthly, the Sexual Assault Review Board reviews the case for advocacy and services. Retaliation is defined as any person subject to the UCMJ who wrongfully takes or threatens to take an adverse personnel action, or wrongfully withholds or threatens to withhold a favorable personnel action with the intent to discourage or retaliate against any person for reporting or planning to report a criminal offense, or making or planning to make a protected communication, or acts of cruelty, oppression, or maltreatment committed against a victim, an alleged victim, or any member of the Army by peers or other persons because the individual reported a criminal offense or is believed to have reported a criminal offense. Retaliatory behaviors include reprisal, ostracism, and maltreatment. This includes victims, bystanders who intervened, or witnesses who made protected communication. The so what of this slide is retaliation is essentially the umbrella, and under that umbrella you've got reprisal, ostracism, and maltreatment. Retaliation is illegal, impermissible, or hostile actions. It's perpetuated by the chain of command, peers, or coworkers. It's directed towards an individual suspected of making protected communication, like a SHARP or other criminal report, being a victim, witness, or intervener, or being a SARC or victim advocate. There are three categories of retaliation. Reprisal is taking or threatening to take an adverse or unfavorable personnel action, or withholding or threatening to withhold a favorable personnel action. Ostracism, excluding from social acceptance, privilege, or friendship, and acts of cruelty, oppression, or maltreatment. DoD Directive 7050.06, Military Whistleblower Protection Act, Section Echo 2.10 protects soldiers and DoD civilians from acts of reprisal. Note, this document is another resource available to the SARC, victim advocate, commander, or other SHARP personnel. Also, inherently criminal acts that meet the intent and definition of retaliation, such as assault, property damage, should be reported to and addressed by CID. Protected communication is defined as a lawful communication to any member of the chain of command, a member of Congress, an IG, or member of a DoD audit, inspection, or law enforcement organization, including any office or command official designated to receive military equal opportunity complaints from the soldiers in which a military member makes a complaint or discusses information that he or she reasonably believes evidences a violation of law or regulation, gross mismanagement, a gross waste of funds, gross abuse of authority, or a substantial and specific danger to public health or safety. DA civilians are eligible to make an unrestricted report by signing a DD Form 2910 and have the same retaliation reporting capability as any other victim who signed a DD Form 2910. Retaliation pursuant to a report of sexual harassment through EEO will be addressed by EEO and the Labor Management and Employee Relations. Whistleblower actions will be reported to the IG, and commanders can seek guidance from their EEO or staff judge advocate. The foot stomp on reprisal is personnel action. This is a list of adverse personnel actions, and it's not all inclusive, as well as a list of favorable actions that can be withheld or threatened towards the complainant. And again, not a comprehensive list. Ostracism is defined as excluding from social acceptance, privilege, or friendship a victim or other member of the armed forces because the individual reported a criminal offense, the individual is believed to have reported a criminal offense, and the ostracism was motivated by the intent to discourage reporting of a criminal offense or otherwise to discourage the due administration of justice, and acts of cruelty, oppression, or maltreatment committed against a victim, an alleged victim, or other member of the armed forces by peers or other persons because the individual reported a criminal offense or is believed to have reported a criminal offense. In our first vignette, we see that Specialist Smith reports that her platoon sergeant sexually assaulted her. The other soldiers in her company do not believe the platoon sergeant would ever do something like this. They began to discuss rumors they've heard about the facts of the case, that Specialist Smith was drunk at the unit party and performed oral sex on another soldier in full view of everyone. Specialist Smith's roommate tells other soldiers that Specialist Smith has a different man in her bed every weekend and enjoys rough sex. Soldiers post comments about this on the unit Facebook page, expressing their support for the platoon sergeant. Specialist Smith reports receiving several anonymous messages that she should drop her report if she wants the rumors to stop on social media. Specialist Smith reports to the commander that soldiers are discussing rumors about her case and are posting favorable comments for the platoon sergeant on Facebook. She feels she's being retaliated against because she reported the sexual assault. The best course of action is the chain of command takes action on this report. It could be ostracism and should be investigated by the victim's chain of command. Additionally, the command should talk to the staff judge advocate. In this vignette, we have a continuation of the first one where Specialist Smith reports her platoon sergeant sexually assaulted her. The team leader pulls Specialist Smith from her daily duties and assigns her to multiple details. Specialist Smith complains to the team leader that she likes her job and has always been told she was doing well. The team leader explains that, quote, as she recovers from her trauma and because she has so many appointments with her lawyers in behavioral health, he wants to take some of the pressure off of her, end quote. Specialist Smith reports to the SARC that her team leader has removed her from her daily duties and assigned her to multiple details. Specialist Smith tells the SARC that she likes her job and has always been told she was doing well. In this case, the command should refer Specialist Smith to the local IG. It could be reprisal, and DoD, IG, and SJA can also assist. In our third vignette, we see Specialist Smith again having made the report against her platoon sergeant. Shortly after she made the report, she's assigned as a staff duty runner, having pulled that duty only 2 weeks prior. As time goes on, she notices she's on staff duty roster every weekend. Specialist Smith approaches the ops sergeant about this. Presumably, he owns the duty roster, and he states everyone has to do their duty and refuses to discuss it further. Specialist Smith reports to the VA that she's pulling staff duty every weekend when normally they're assigned every 3 or 4 weeks. She feels she's being retaliated against for making a sexual assault report. The best course of action, the chain of command can action it. It could be maltreatment, and it should be investigated by the chain, and commanders would need to see the staff judge advocate for assistance with this. No soldier may retaliate against a victim, an alleged victim, or a member of the armed forces based on that individual's report of a criminal offense. All reports of retaliatory behavior must be investigated, including actions against other individuals, for example, family members intended to harm or influence a soldier. Retaliation will be investigated by the DoD Inspector General. In accordance with AR 600-20, retaliation against a victim, witness, intervener, SARCs, victim advocates, or first responders should be referred to a battalion or higher commander to develop a plan to immediately address the issue and forward the plan to the Sexual Assault Review Board chair. In most cases, that would be the commanding general. In accordance with DoD Instruction 6495.02, service members may request a review from a general or flag officer if they experience retaliation, reprisal, restriction, ostracism, or maltreatment involving administrative separation within 1 year of the final disposition of their sexual assault case. They also have the right to communicate with a general or flag officer if they believe there are impacts to their military career based on reporting their sexual assault. A significant portion of a commander's required response to an unrestricted report of sexual assault are efforts to prevent retaliation. Commanders must determine if the victim desires or needs a no-contact order or military protective order to be issued, particularly if the victim and the subject are assigned to the same command, unit, duty location, or living coordinators. Coordination with other commanders may be necessary if the subject is assigned to a different commander. MPOs are an effective tool for commanders to maintain the safety of victims and witnesses. Copies of the DD Form 2873 Military Protective Order will be provided to the victim, subject, and to the MPs for entry into the federal databases. Commanders need to ensure that when an MPO has been issued, the protected victim is informed in a timely manner of their option to request a transfer from the command to which he or she is assigned. In addition, the person seeking the MPO will be advised that it's not enforceable by civilian authorities off post, and victims desiring protection off base should seek a civilian protective order. Commanders should ensure that appropriate civilian authorities are notified of the issuance of a protective order and the individuals involved in that order in the event an MPO has been issued against a member of the armed forces and any individual involved in the order does not reside on a military installation at any time during the duration of the MPO. The commander should determine the need for temporary reassignment to another unit, duty location, or living quarters on the installation of the victim or the subject being investigated, work with the subject's commander if different than the victim's commander, until there is a final legal disposition of the sexual assault report and/or the victim is no longer in danger. Avoid automatic suspension or revocation of a security clearance or Army suitability program access, understanding the victim may be satisfactorily treated for his or her related trauma without compromising his or her security clearance or PRP. Consider the negative impact the suspension of a victim's security clearance may have on building a climate of trust and confidence in the Army sexual assault reporting system, but make final determination based on established national security standards. The reference for this is AR 50-5 and DoD Directive 5210.42-R. Emphasize that the subject is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Consider some forms of unit training or have an outside expert address the unit regarding preventative measures, as well as some of the emotional or psychological feelings that may manifest themselves, affect the unit, and require the unit's response during the course of the investigation. Continuously monitor the unit's overall climate to ensure neither the victim nor the subject is being ostracized, and take actions to prevent organizational splintering. We know that as leaders, you understand that there is a lot required of you. Leadership requires that you model the behavior you expect your subordinates to emulate. It will require the highlighted attributes and competencies to set a climate where retaliation is not accepted. We also know that this is most easily done in an environment where soldiers and civilians feel connected and part of the team. In our final vignette, Private Johnson reported that he was sexually assaulted by fellow platoon member Specialist James. During the investigation, many platoon members were interviewed by CID, and now rumors are running rampant throughout the platoon. There are very clear lines being drawn that have resulted in two camps within the platoon, one supporting Private Johnson, the other defending Private Specialist James. It's starting to affect productivity, readiness, and has derailed unit cohesion. In a situation like this, you could ask, what could you as a leader do to mitigate the situation or to ensure it doesn't happen in the future? I would actually recommend I call it a pre-mortem. It's like an AAR that you do in advance to think through knowing your soldiers and your team, what you would do if a similar circumstance happened so you could get after it before the platoon starts taking sides. We also need our leaders to publicize as best they can how to report a sexual assault, how to seek assistance for sexual assault, including associated reports of retaliation at their locations. This includes publicizing the availability of resources outside of the victim's chain of command, things like the SAFE helpline. And USARC is going to be rolling out a resource map. And all soldiers in my command's AOR have local resource guides for their specific facilities. You should also be able to find flyers, at least for our command, on Microsoft Teams. You're already a member of this channel. And for others, Army Resilience Directorate posts flyers as well. If you still have questions or need to talk about a specific situation, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm in the global address list. I'm also on Microsoft Teams. If you think anyone that you work with, a colleague or a subordinate or peer, would appreciate or find use for this content, please hit the share button down below and you can send it to them by text or email.